Welcome to Informally Formal. I am truly excited today because I bring to you someone that I believe is a very rare individual. An individual that straddles between the two universes. One is a fine education, and I'll tell you about that a little bit, but at the same time, a very, very successful global business person. But very rarely do we find someone that is Oxford educated, master's in economics, bachelor's honors, master's in economics from Oxford University, also happens to be one of the top business person in Bangladesh. So my guest today is Mr. Matloob Ahmed, former president of the Federation of Bangladesh Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and a very, very successful business person. He's the chairman of Nitol Niloy Group. And I'll tell you just a little bit about that group. He started out in 1981. And then later on, of course, through a joint venture with Tata Motors and diversification into many industries, refineries, cement, technology, and of course, automobiles. So without further ado, I can keep on talking about him. We will not get into the meat of our discussion that way. So a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Akbar Hakim. I'm glad to join you today, trying to give some new thoughts on Bangladesh and its future.
Absolutely. Okay, so our today's topic, since we have someone with such a global overview and a global vision, someone that I've known over the years, and I've had the privilege of traveling with him on some business delegations as well. I have seen him in firsthand action in the front lines within Bangladesh and outside of Bangladesh, representing Bangladesh. So our today's topic very aptly is the overall business climate in Bangladesh, the good and the bad. We'll talk about it all. So let me just get into my first question with you, which is, we are all, the entire world is reeling from the pandemic. And Bangladesh is no exception, of course, but I would say we have done rather well compared to many of our neighboring countries, as well as many of the countries across the world. So what's your global overview about this situation that we find ourselves in? So let's just start with that.
Well, thank you very much. COVID-19 had struck us like a lightning. The country was growing very fast. We were almost reaching 8+ GDP growth per year. And we were even aiming higher. But in comes COVID-19. Not only does it destroy our partners in Europe and USA as our trading partners, but also within the country, we were under lockdown for 1.5 months. Bangladesh is lucky in the sense that it has got a leadership, Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who is quite able in trying to sort out the ways to move forward. Today, the world leadership are in a dilemma. Should they open up and save the economy? Should they close and increase the chance of having less people affected by COVID-19? Now, in this regard, Bangladesh quickly understood the COVID-19 issue. And we are fortunate in the sense that 70 to 80% of our people are agrarian based on domestic businesses. And COVID-19 showed us that if you are based on domestic business more, and if you're less dependent on the international trade, you have a better chance to survive and give work to your own people. So while the small and medium business people suffered a lot initially, and the day earners were also suffering, but because Honorable Prime Minister released us from the lockdown within 1.5 months and gave us the health rules to follow, which helped the country to move very fast and recover. Today, I would safely say that the country has recovered up to 60% of pre-COVID situation. And we should be able to come to our 100% mark by March 2021. So that way, if you look at the COVID-19 situation, Bangladesh has now started most of the economic operations of the country. The Government, which was almost seeing all darkness during the March, has now picked up. They're already employing new people in the garments industries. Their shipments have started, their LCs have started coming in, and those buyers which ran away have started coming back. And they have also switched to new products which are in line with the COVID-19 pandemic. So all said and done, it is the combination of the private sector, the government, and the people which has helped the country to move forward in its economic progress, and also try to stop the effect of COVID-19 hitting the population of the country.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed. I think you covered a broad spectrum of the overall view of the economy as it stands today. I must mention though, I have, just yesterday, we did an interview with Rubana, Dr. Rubana Haq, on the garment sector. One of the challenges we find there, you're absolutely right. The month of September, we crossed the $3 billion mark, which is about little over 2% year-on-year increase. The month of August was about 3.5% year-on-year increase. But the challenge remains with the payment. The payments are now, we're looking at payments that are deferred or on a much longer term. So that puts us at great risk, because at any given time, our garments have a receivable of about $8 billion. So that's a challenge. But what I really wanted to ask you though is SME sector is not necessarily seeing the relief package. MSME, if you say, the small, the cottage. Like for example, restaurants in Dhaka. There are so many restaurants in Dhaka that have shuttered, and some permanently. Your views on that?
Well, if you ask me about the stimulus packages, the 30,000 crores for the rich and big business people have been utilized by September. So most of us have got the money, they utilized it into the system, and we are being benefited by these stimulus. Now, when it comes to the MSMEs and the small businesses and the, I would say, women in business, there comes a big challenge, because you have to realize that the stimulus has been given through banks. It's not a grant. Grant is very simple. You just take the ID card and just place the grant to him or her. But when you have to take the stimulus from a bank, you have to have a banking relationship. Now, most of these small business people for whom you are feeling a bit worried on, it is correct, because they hardly have bank relationships. They hardly have bank sanction advisors and all that. So it's very difficult to prove that they can take the money and repay it back. Or it's difficult to prove who the party is, because the bank has to have a KYC. They have to know the party. And therefore, the problem here is not the stimulus package. The problem is the process of giving the stimulus package to the small businesses. So I had suggested through FBCCI and through the government bodies that there should be a very simple insurance scheme. I remember in late 70s, when I was an exporter of the country, we didn't get any money from the banks because we were selling under this contract scheme, exactly what the governments are doing. And the bank says, sorry, we don't give you any advance on this. So we introduced ECGC scheme, Export Credit Guarantee Scheme in Shadharan Bima. And that worked. We used to give a premium to the Shadharan Bima, and the bank used to keep that premium certificate as the guarantee warranty. And if any of my customers failed to pay, the insurance company would pay. The same thing should have been done for the small and medium enterprise people, or even small entrepreneurs, where they should be able to get a insurance from the Shadharan Bima, no question asked, and this premium certificate would be the basis for their 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs taka, and the banks would then get a paper on which they know that if this party fails, the insurance company can pay me. That's the only way that the smaller entrepreneurs can get money out of the banks. Otherwise, the government has to change the stimulus package and make it a grant. That is a political decision which the government has to take.
Now, don't you think the government's decision to go with the 9% lending cap is, in talking to heads of many banks, they tell me, obviously, as you mentioned in your discourse right now, that the risk element is a lot higher for smaller businesses, obviously, right? I was in the banking industry myself. We cannot justify when we have inflation at 5.5%, lending rate cannot be capped at 9%. So that I know for a fact, bankers are telling me that's an impediment. That is what is keeping funds from reaching smaller customers.
Well, Mr. Hakim, let me explain to you. If you look at Japan, you look at America, look at any other country, the banks operate at a 2% interest rate. You take a loan from bank, they charge only 2%, 3%. Now, at 2 and 3%, the bank survives and yet makes money. In Bangladesh, we have made, this proposition was given from APCCI when I was the president, that the deposit should not cross 6 and the lending rate should not cross 9. 3% is a big enough margin. Today, most of the banks have non-performance loan. Non-performing loan is a big amount in each and every bank, including the government banks. And for that, they will need 2 or 2.5% to store away to cover for those bad loans. So that is the reason why they're having this situation. So I had also proposed to the government that there should be a one-time plan to take away all these non-performing loans into a separate body, like it has been done under World Bank or other countries have done that, and free the bank of the non-performance loan. This is and also you have to punish the bankers for giving loans to non-worthy people, and should also punish the people who have taken money not to pay back. So these areas need to be corrected. It is useless to say that you increase the interest rate for the borrowers, whether small or bigger, because there hardly that much of profit in the system. If you ask 18% from a small trader, for 100 taka sale, he has to give 18 taka. There's not much profit there. They will not make any money. The banking loan itself will become a burden on them, like it had happened to in many crop loans, where when the crop fails, the farmers become poorer, and as a course, the credit becomes a burden to the farmers, then a boom. So what I am trying to tell you, that we must make and keep the bank interest rate capped at 9%, have some sort of easier way to give money to the small entrepreneurs by introducing the insurance scheme for them, and therefore banks need not worry. The insurance scheme will be there to support the bank when this party fails. And insurance is for that. Right. Insurance is to cover your risks. So why doesn't the bank and the insurance company work together? It's an ideal situation for them.
Right. Now,
it's no use telling the bankers at fault or the government is at fault.
I understand, Mr. Ahmed, what you're saying, like a reinsurance scheme. Like if you remember AIG in America during the 2008 financial crisis, right? They were the reinsurance, but if the government didn't bail them out, they would have gone under too. So there is a cost involved with, regardless of what you're saying, there is a cost involved. So even for the insurance, there is a cost, obviously. But anyway, that's a very heavy topic, Mr. Ahmed, that we cannot possibly get into much depth of it in our conversation today. Let's move on. Let's move on. What I would want to ask you is, Mr. Ahmed, you're a part and parcel of the business landscape in Bangladesh. And I've seen some of your interviews and stuff where you're very encouraging to the young individuals that want to become entrepreneurs. You're very much into technology. And so let me ask you then, in the current situation, what would you want to say to the youth out there? Because, as you know, we have a demographic dividend in young population in Bangladesh. So your words on that.
First of all, they must tell them that if they look around the whole world, Bangladesh is the country that they should put their bet on. They must not try to go illegally to some foreign lands or try to look that there are much more greener grass on the other side. No, it is not there. The grass is greenest in Bangladesh. Secondly, they must look towards business that they can do within the country. Because we have 160 to 170 million people, there's enough business within the country. We have to look to make products out of our own growing areas here, depend less on imports, and produce and sell domestically. There's a huge demand here. Don't look for jobs. There are no jobs there. You look for self-employment. This is what our Honorable Prime Minister is always suggesting. Go for self-employment, small businesses, and let the whole system support such people. I have seen in the COVID-19, my big truck sales have come down, but the small pickups have gone up. Why? Because the youths have come in. They are now buying some vegetables in a near about city and coming to Dhaka and selling it here. They're carrying fish from some fish growing area and selling to Dhaka. These are young boys, educated boys. They don't feel any shy. The whole sentiments have changed. They find more money in doing smaller businesses than looking for a job and wasting time. They feel more confident and they feel happy about Bangladesh and being in Bangladesh.
Right, right. Those are great words, Mr. Ahmed. Let me now ask you, given our current situation, what is your prediction? When do you think, when do you suppose we're going to get out of it, go back to the, I do not know if business is going to go to the back to the old normal. Maybe we're going to have a new normal moving forward. But nevertheless, when do you suppose we would see growth back to the way it used to be? Your views on that?
First of all, I must tell you, we are a least developing countries. Well, we say we have reached the lower middle income country. We have 170 million people, out of which 70 to 80% are on the lower side of the spectrum of the, I would say, richness. But happiness, we are very strong. The country is a happy country. Now, if you look at the situation, when we'll come out, my policy, I am running a company, group of company, more than 10,000 people in different industries. We have taken COVID as something which will remain with us for many years. We have been guided to follow the health rules. So all the people are outside their homes, working for the economy, working in industries, working in trade, and embracing the idea that they may get COVID. Luckily, thanks to Allah, the death rates in Bangladeshi COVID-19 is very, very low. And within my own company, I had around 450 people positive, out of which almost all of them have survived. Even today, we have 95 people COVID-19 positive within the system. They are on home quarantine. And we had only 3 deaths out of these so many months of COVID-19. So we have decided, as Honorable Prime Minister has told us to, that you go out in the economy, take care of the health rules, and wish for the best. If you all sit down in the homes, then the economy will destroy and there will be more death through not being able to eat or not being able to do any activities than through COVID-19. So the country has taken a decision to move ahead with COVID-19 on our side. So we know that COVID-19 is with us. We don't look forward when we can overcome. No, because you'll always get hurt. Like this vaccine thing coming every month, it's not coming. Even if it comes, by the time it will be available for us as a safe vaccine, will take a long time. Even today, the safest vaccine is supposed to be 50%. It's not good enough for all of us. So let's wait. We have got enterprising people here in our pharmaceuticals. They have been very active in the COVID-19 things. I do hope that Bangladesh will be one of those countries who will produce the vaccine and export to the world. That is the capacity with Bangladesh.
Okay.
And therefore, I have great hopes on our people, on our leadership, and on the business and industrialists of the country. We are going to survive. We are going to be on top of the world as we have been done in the past. Thank you.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes, I am a big fan of our pharmaceutical industry as well, Mr. Ahmed. You know, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, our pharmaceutical industry is world class. And you know, about 97% of our local needs are fulfilled by our pharmaceutical industry. We export to hundreds of, I think 87 or 100 some countries in the world. So yeah, I'm very hopeful as well. So Mr. Ahmed, let's switch gears now a little bit. Bangladesh, as you know, of course, 84-85% of our export earnings comes from the garment industry. That's a really heavy concentration, you know, in the export basket. We have to diversify. We are very proud of our RMG sector, but at the same time, we must recognize the vulnerability. So I am, once again, kudos to the government for having the foresight of starting the digitalization of Bangladesh and the momentum that we are seeing in the ICT industry. So what I want to ask you, Mr. Ahmed, is moving forward, how do you see our export basket shaping out? Let's say 5 years from now. I want your prediction.
Well, we have been thinking on it for the last 16 years, how to diversify the export basket and how to diversify the export markets. Through diversification has been very clearly stated, even by the Honorable Prime Minister. Now, on the diversification of markets, we have done well, like we have introduced Japan, we have got South America, we have got South Africa, etc., which are normally away from Europe and USA. On the diversification, there is a big snag. The government in 80s, when they supported the garments industries, a lot of support was given to the sector. Now, none of the sectors other than garments are yet to get this, I would say, fullest support of the government. So they are declaring cash incentives, X, Y, Z, but training, supporting, giving all the rules, regulations to, and choose one or two sectors to grow is not yet there. Look at the leather industry, it has huge potentialities. But look, they don't have an ETP in their leather center. And there's so many other headaches. And I fail to understand why this cannot be left to the private sector to grow. Remember, the BGMEA was not controlling the quotas. It was the controlling quota was done by EPB. It was shifted from EPB to the BGMEA themselves. That's when the change came. So whenever you will take away the government control and give this to the business leaders and tell them to control and move upwards, give the support to them from the back, that's when you'll find success. We have very easily now can diversify up to 5 elements. Your leather, pharmaceuticals, ICT, and then fresh fruits and vegetables.
Right.
And of course, the other items like glass, etc., etc. So we can always choose 5 and give them the fullest support and have 5 ministers in charge of one of these sectors, giving them a 5-year target. Then I want to reach there, each $2 billion or $5 billion. They will do it.
Right.
Bangladeshis know how to achieve. It's only thing, the thing that bothers us is too much government control. We must get rid of government control. Then only private sector can grow.
Mr. Ahmed, with those words, I guess there cannot be anything left to add. You know, I would like to thank you so very much for joining us for your precious time today. And at the same time, I would like to thank our viewers for joining us today. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next session. Bye-bye.